Hello everyone. It's been a minute since I made a Minecraft video, so I figured I should revisit the game for the first video I upload after my channel overhaul. In this video, I specifically want to talk about potions, and certain potion effects / items that could possibly improve the game if they were added. To Mojang's credit, they have implemented two potions somewhat recently, the potion of slow falling and the potion of the Turtle Master. However, I still think that we could do with more potions in an upcoming update, because they are both fun and useful. There's one disclaimer I want to make before starting this video. Although I'm about to list off a lot of potion ideas, I'm not trying to say that they should all be implemented. I've seen some people's awful ideas for things that should be implemented into Minecraft, and it's because of this that I understand the importance of keeping the game simple and not polluting its gameplay with too many types of anything. Adding in 16 new potions would certainly break that rule. Although I'm going to list off a lot of potions, I'm doing so solely to facilitate the discussion of a lot of different ideas, and not because I think that every single one of these should actually be implemented. Hopefully now that I've cleared that up, I'll receive fewer comments saying this. But come to think of it, how many commenters actually watch the video anyway? Now that the disclaimer is over with, let's begin.
Potion of Reach.
This potion's functionality is pretty self-explanatory. If you consumed it, your reach would increase. I'm not sure what length it should increase by, but I'd say maximum 2 blocks. Having this ability would make building, mining, and PvE situations more manageable. I'm sure lots of you hear this and get concerned about PvP, and more specifically, how this would break it. Although there are legitimate concerns in some areas, I'd argue that there are already way more overpowered items.
Potion of Experience.
This is another pretty straightforward potion. Once you consumed it, any experience you picked up would receive a multiplier. Although its applications are pretty obvious, there's a specific reason that I feel like we need it, which is because of how grindy getting experience in Minecraft is. The only practical methods of getting experience are refighting the Ender Dragon or building some kind of mob farm. The former seems a bit extreme, and when it comes to mob farms, I feel like outright exploiting game mechanics shouldn't be the only viable method of completing a task. This is the problem I hope the experience potion somewhat fixes.
Potion of Warping.
You're probably able to infer that this potion allows you to teleport. I was thinking about where it would make the most sense to teleport the player to. I came up with a solution that I think works pretty well, but it is a bit confusing the first time you hear it. My solution is to teleport the player to the location where whoever threw/drank the potion first picked it up. This fixes multiple issues. It doesn't require new features for it to work, it still offers the player control in where they teleport to, and it doesn't allow them to teleport to somewhere they haven't been. In situations where this location cannot be resolved, the potion should have no effect. Although this idea is a bit outlandish, I'm hoping at least some people thought it was cool.
Potion of Wisdom.
After drinking this potion, already existing enchantments on tools, weapons, armor, etc. would be amplified by 1 level, even if they were already at their maximum vanilla survival level. The one place this shouldn't apply is for enchantments to cap out at level 1. Having things such as Infinity 2 or Silk Touch 2 wouldn't really make any sense. Although some of you might think that allowing this would break the game, it's important to keep in mind that Minecraft Java Edition already supports enchantments that are over their obtainable level. If you enter this command into a Minecraft Java world, it'll give you a Thorns 100 leather cap. Because the framework for this is already in place, adding this shouldn't cause any problems.
Potion of Extension.
This is another one of those weird potions that has an instantaneous effect rather than an effect that lasts a certain amount of time. You could probably guess based on its name that once you drink it, any potion effects you already have applied would receive an extension by some amount of time, being either an additive or multiplicative increase. There should at least be one rule when it comes to this, which is that you can't extend any potion effect more than once, preventing the player from holding onto an effect indefinitely.
Potion of Ghosting.
In the original draft of the script, I laid out my idea for a potion called an X-ray potion that would allow the player to see through opaque blocks. But then I asked my friend if he had any ideas for potions, and one of the ideas he gave me was a ghost potion that allowed you to enter spectator mode temporarily. I liked his idea better because it's more practical, as it would allow you to go through walls, and it doesn't require a potential overhaul to the rendering engine. It also opens up an opportunity for Vexes to have a purpose in the game. You know Vexes, those annoying little things that go through blocks and linger around for an eternity after raids are over? Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if they dropped an item to make this potion, giving them an actual function? There are a few balancing measures that this potion should have. First of all, it shouldn't last that long. I'd say 15 seconds maximum. Secondly, it shouldn't allow the player to go through bedrock. Thirdly, the player shouldn't be able to simply trap an evoker and farm Vexes to get the item.
Potion of slime.
Out of all the potions I brainstormed, this one is probably the weirdest, but I still like it. My big idea for it is making you bounce off of every block as if it was a slime block. You may be wondering why on earth I'm saying this should be in the game, so I'll list off a few reasons. Firstly, I think it would be funny. Secondly, it would be useful for falling down long distances. Instead of having to slowly pour water down there like an idiot, or risk your life by water clutching, you could use this as a fun and effective alternative. Thirdly, it would provide the player with additional mobility, especially when combined with already existing mechanics such as Elytras and Riptide.
Potion of herding.
This potion would attract all animals within a certain proximity of you. Basically, it functions as if you were holding each animal's respective breeding item, but it works on all animals at the same time, allowing you to hold whatever item you want in your hand without losing the effect. This alone is useful, but also not very interesting. What would make this potion more useful is if it had additional effects on animals, such as increasing their attention span, allowing them to detect you from longer distances, and maybe even increasing the speed at which they follow you.
Potion of recovery.
This potion would be really useful, but it might almost be too useful, to the point where it would be game-breaking. In short, if you died with this potion effect, you would respawn at the location at which you died. Although this seems pretty powerful, it's important to remember that having this potion doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get your stuff back. Your items could be destroyed before you pick them up, or you could die a second time and return to your prior spawn point. Also, this potion shouldn't permanently set the player's spawn point, but instead, the new spawn point should only be effective for the first respawn after the player had the effect, after which it would return to wherever it was beforehand. This prevents the player from eternally dooming themselves by setting their spawn point to somewhere inescapable.
Potion of teleportation.
Any die-hard Minecraft fans will probably click off this video after I speak these 4 forbidden syllables. But Terraria has a potion that teleports the player to a random position within their world. This is pretty much the same effect as Chorus Fruit, except it works over a much larger radius, making it useful for quickly locating structures. Because of this, I think it would be nice to have a potion that teleported you to a random generated structure within 1,000 blocks of your current position. This would make it easier to find treasure items and possibly even find a stronghold if you're lucky. If Mojang's going to practically remove nether fortresses from the game, they might as well add other mechanics to make them easier to find.
Potion of range.
Let's do another simple one. So, you know how potions of strength only affect melee damage? Wouldn't it be nice to have a potion that had the same effect on range damage, such as bows, crossbows, and tridents? That's what this potion would do. While a ranged weakness potion would correspond nicely with this, it's not strictly necessary for this idea to work.
Potion of knockback resistance.
This would be another pretty simple and intuitive idea. Depending on its potency, this potion would reduce the amount of knockback you take. I personally think level 1 should provide 50% resistance, while level 2 should provide 100%, but then I don't know what the subsequent levels that are obtainable through command blocks should do. So that's pretty much it. I think this potion would be good in PvE situations without ruining PvP.
Potion of shielding.
Shields are a pretty cool item in Minecraft. they can allow you to effortlessly block almost any attack. Based on the fact that I'm talking about this after saying Potion of Shielding, you can probably see where I'm going with this. It would be nice to have a potion that provided a chance to completely shield you from an attack. Also, the chance to dodge the attack should obviously scale with the potency of the effect.
Potion of Stealth.
This potion is one of my favorite ideas. The effect it has is rather simple, but it's still one that I think has a lot of potential. So, after drinking this potion, you will no longer make sounds while the effect is active. Although this obviously appeals to PvP situations, there is a PvE idea I have for it also, which I'll mention in a second. I think the applications it has when dealing with players are pretty obvious. You can either use it to sneak up on somebody, or hide from them. Also, having invisibility would make the effect even better. Invisibility also comes into play in the idea I had for its PvE effects. For those of you who don't know, having the invisibility effect prevents hostile mobs from noticing you until you get much closer to them. I'm assuming the reason they're still able to notice you when you get really close is because of the sounds you're making. After taking this into account, it would make sense that having both invisibility and stealth should make you completely undetectable by hostile mobs. There should be one exception to this though. If you're wearing anything in your armor slots, the effect should have the same detection range as it would without the stealth effect. So, to wrap it up, the Potion of Stealth would be good for messing with your friends, as well as allowing you to pass by mobs undetected.
Potion of Magnetism.
This is another pretty simple potion that would still be nice to have, and you can probably guess how it works based off of its name. It increases the range within which the player can collect pick-upable entities, such as items and experience. The main situations in which this would be useful are when you have some large OP farm, or when you're digging out a large area, as you'd have to move around a lot less in order to pick things up.
Potion of Reduction.
This might be the most game-changing potion on this list, so I saved it for last. In short, this potion would cause your character to shrink down to half of its original size. This alone would be very cool, as it would allow you to go through smaller gaps, but there should also be some minor stat changes as well in my opinion. If you ask me, players should both move faster, but also take more damage and knockback. I know that there are a lot of other stat changes that people could probably think of as well, but I think most of us can agree that the list of stat changes should be left rather short and sweet. Although the Potion of Reduction was the last potion-like item I had on this list, there is still one other thing I want to talk about before this video's conclusion.
Milk bottles.
I'm just going to say this right now. It would make much more sense for milk to be moved over to bottles rather than buckets. This isn't really something I had thought about prior to writing the script, but then I started considering how a splash and lingering variation of milk could possibly work. Afterwards, I realized that moving milk over to bottles would not only solve this problem, but it also made more sense. Even if buckets are used to milk cows in real life, nobody actually drinks milk right out of a bucket, or at least not that I'm aware of. In addition to this, water buckets aren't drinkable in Minecraft. That water first must be placed inside of a bottle. Therefore, it would be more consistent with real life as well as other game mechanics if you milked cows with bottles instead. As touched on earlier, this would also allow for both splash and lingering milk bottles to be created. If we have lingering thick potions in the game, I don't see why splash milk cannot exist. Are you sick of hearing the word milk? Because it's not over yet.
Magic and spoiled milk.
Milk is a pretty useful substance in Minecraft. You get splashed with poison? Milk. You get hit by a wither skeleton? Milk. You enter into an ocean monument without having efficiency 5 in aqua affinity? Milk. Although milk bottles are good at removing effects that you don't want, they also have the side effect of removing any positive effects you happen to have at the time. An item that only removed negative potion effects would be the most intuitive solution to this problem. I think a magic milk bottle item would be the best item to fit this concept to, but I don't really care what it's called, I just want it added. If there's an item that removes all negative effects, then it would make sense to have an item that removes all positive effects as well. I think a good name for this item would be Spoiled Milk, but again, I couldn't care less about its name. One last thing about all these milk items, it would also be cool to have both splash and lingering variants of magic and spoiled milk. Those were pretty much all my potion ideas. I thought most of them were cool, although some were a little weird. But the main point of making this video was to see what you guys thought. Feel free to give feedback on my ideas as well as suggest your own. Anyway, that's pretty much it, so cue the end screen.